outside the nest. "Tobin," he calls out. "Where are you?" "Here, Charlie," I call back. "We're here, in the nest." More pounding and swatting of branches and crunching ground as Charlie's footsteps get closer and closer. When he appears in the doorway of the nest, he's all out of breath, and he's so tall he has to duck his head to get inside. "Lem, Tobe," he huffs, sounding relieved. "What is, where are, who?" He chokes and sputters, looking down at Scotty, still in a ball in the corner. "Tobin." It's Debbie coming up behind Charlie, grabbing. It's Debbie coming up behind Charlie, grabbing his arm and squeezing her head into the doorway. "Lemonade." She still has her white nurse's uniform on, her hair still twisted up in a knot under her nurse's cap. Her normally spotless shoes are covered with mud. "What's going on here?" She pushes her way in past Charlie and rushes to Tobin's side. She turns him all around in every direction, looking him over top to bottom to make sure he's all in one piece, and then grabs my hand and pulls me close to her like she's guarding us from a wild animal. "Who's that?" she asks. "Who are you?" she demands. "Mom," Tobin whispers. "It's Dad." Debbie's mouth falls open and she stares hard at Scotty. "What did you say?" "It's him, Mom. It's really him. I guess he must have gotten lost or something." It's quiet again while Debbie watches the man hiding in the corner, his eyes still darting and his body still curled in a tight ball. "Scotty?" she says real slowly, like she hardly believes her eyes. He is still a caught animal ready to be slaughtered, slaughtered up into jerky bits to be bagged and shelved in the fine cuisine section of the Bigfoot souvenirs and more. "Scotty?" Debbie says, louder this time and stepping toward him. "Is that really you?" Scotty's body ball Scotty's body ball is so tight now. It looks like he's trying to make himself invisible so we'll all forget he's still sitting in the corner of the nest. In the beams of our flashlights, we watch his matted red head slowly bob up and then down, and that's when I see something I will always remember. For my whole life, I will remember it. Debbie rushes toward him in her dirty nurse's dress and muddy shoes, falling down to her knees and wrapping her arms around him with so much love it makes my eyes blur. They blur up even more when I see her thin shoulders shake against him as she cries loud and hard. I watch her rock him back and forth the way you might rock a tiny newborn baby snuggled up in a tight swaddle. "Scotty," she sobs and rocks and sobs. "My Scotty," she says over and over, kissing his dark, muddy cheeks. "My Scotty, I love you so much. I just love you so much. I thought we'd never see you again." I look over at Tobin and see a whole bunch of tears all stuck up between his cheeks and the bottom of his glasses. Then I look up at Charlie and see tears rolling down and getting caught in his beard. I wipe my own tears away with my forearm. We all cry, seeing the love Debbie has for this man she has waited for and prayed for and hoped for, this man she loves with deep down love. It reminds me of the time I wrapped my own arms around Mama in the hospital on the very worst day of my entire life. I bet my shoulders shook when her chest stopped moving up and then down. I bet I shook just like Debbie. Except these tears are different. Hers, mine, Tobin's, and Charlie's. While we watch her deep down love, these tears are happy tears. With Mama, I was trying to hold on to something I had to let go. And Debbie is holding on to something she gets to keep. No, these are happy tears for sure. But watching Debbie, Charlie, and Tobin right this second, it sure makes me miss Mama. I miss her like something inside me hurts so bad there isn't anything on this earth that could hurt me more. Not a bullet or knife or grenade, gang, not a bullet or knife or gangrene or even an insect-related scourge. Right now, I'd give anything to be with my mama like that. One more chance to be able to wrap my arms around her and hold her tight and rock her small, frail body just like Debbie gets to do with Scotty. If somebody gave me that chance again, I'd never let her go, not ever. And I'd hold on to her just like Debbie is holding on to Scotty, with deep down love. And right this minute, when I feel like I'm getting sucked back into sadness quicksand, I look up at Charlie again and then slip my hand into his, the big hand with the special ring on it. His fingers fold around mine just like Mama's used to, and he squeezes my hand tight and I squeeze his hand back, just in case he has his own quicksand. Chapter 47, Thankful. It's the middle of the night when we make it home from the hospital in Blue Lake. Tobin and I waited a long, long time on the bench welded to the wall until Debbie came to get us for a short visit in Scotty's hospital room, but not before we scrubbed all the germs from our hands with disinfectant hospital soap and crossed our hearts, promising to only stay for 5 minutes. Scotty already looked better. He was all cleaned up and someone had cut his hair and shaved off his beard to make him look more like the man in the picture next to Debbie's bed and Tobin's too. He had even eaten half a hospital cheeseburger and some of his fries. I have so many questions, but figure it's best not to ask them until he's well again. Plus, Tobin would probably just roll his eyes out of his head by the time I was done with all my asking. I don't remember the ride home because I fell asleep on the front seat of Jake. I wake up when Charlie carries me inside and sets me on top of my bed. "Charlie," I say, rubbing my eyes. "It's late, Lem." He pulls off one of my tennis shoes and then the other one. "We can talk more in the morning." Why was Tobin's dad living in the woods out back behind Mrs. Dickerson's garden? Charlie breathes out long and hard and sits down next to me on the bed. "He has something called CSR, Lem," he says. "Combat stress reaction. Sometimes it's called battle fatigue or shell shock. It's what some soldiers experience after they must see and do terrible things during a war. Right now he needs rest and he needs some time to make sense of the things he has experienced. He needs help with his memories. I guess even Scotty has his own quick has his very own quicksand. But why didn't he just go home to get all that?" I ask, thinking about the special ring on Debbie's finger. Debbie would have helped him. Didn't he know that she has deep down love for him? Debbie would have done anything he needed. I know it. "I'm sure you're right about that," Charlie says. "CSR is hard to understand because you can't see it like you can see a broken arm or gangrene." "Yes," he smiles, "like you can see gangrene. Some people don't even want to believe CSR is real, but it's very real. And our men need support after all they've been through. All I can say is that Scotty will be okay after he gets treatment at the hospital. He might be there for a time, but the doctors know what to do to help him. And he'll be able to go back home one day to live with Tobin and Debbie? Yes, Lem. Then they can finally be a family again. That's good, then, I say. Yep, he sighs and stands up. It's wonderful. Get some sleep now. Charlie? Lem, it's late. Crawl in now, and we'll talk more tomorrow, he says, lifting the comforter up for me to burrow under. Just one more thing, I tell him, pulling it over my clothes. What is it? How did Scotty get all the way from Vietnam back to the woods in Willow Creek? He begins tucking the comforter tight all around me. Remember when I told you that Scotty had been MIA, missing in action, and then they rescued him last year? Yes, I say. I remember. You said he made it to the base in Oakland and then disappeared. Yes, well, Scotty told us an amazing story of survival, he tells me. He had been on a top secret mission when he was captured. His entire squad was killed, but he survived. The army thought they had all been killed, and unfortunately, the army had thought they had all been killed. And unfortunately, Scotty ended up spending the next 3 years in a prison in the jungle, where he was horribly tortured until another top secret squad finally found him and rescued him last year. That's when they sent soldiers to the house to let Debbie know he was alive. Remember when I told you that Debbie and Tobin went to pick him up at the airport and found out he never made it on the plane? Yes. Something happened to him on his way to catch the flight. What? I ask. With combat stress reaction, sometimes a person's memories are so strong that it makes them uncertain if a memory is something that happened in the past or if it's happening in the present. Kind of like a dream? I ask, thinking of all the dreams I have of Mama and me at Sunshines on the Bay. It feels so real when it's happening that it's like she's still right here with me. Exactly, he says. It was the loud noises at the airport that confused his brain, loud noises that sounded like the explosions of gunfire he experienced in the jungle. Those noises confused him, and it's like he started to dream that he was back in the jungle again, back in danger. So he did what he learned to do to stay safe. He escaped to the cover of the woods. That's why he didn't get on the plane? Because his memories were confused? I asked. That's right. But he looked okay to me when we saw him in the hospital. It's something that comes on a bit unexpectedly. It could still happen if he experiences something that reminds him of the jungle. Does that make sense? I suppose so, I say, but I still don't know why he wouldn't just let Debbie know all that. Did he forget about her deep down love? He told the doctors that once he made it back to Willow Creek on his own, he couldn't face Debbie and Tobin. He said he tried many times to make it up those front porch steps, but he couldn't do it. He said that he just couldn't share with them what he had been through because it was too horrible. He wanted to protect them from all that he had seen and experienced out in the jungle so they wouldn't have to experience it too. So he watched over them from the woods, hoping one day he would be able to be with them again. I think hard about everything Charlie has told me. You're right, I tell him. That is hard to understand. Yes, he agrees. When will we get to go home? When will he get to go home for good? That depends on his healing. I hope he's healed up soon. Me too. Charlie? Lem, it's so late. One more question. I really promise this time. What is it? Scotty didn't say anything about seeing the Bigfoot while he was living out behind Mrs. Dickerson's, did he? Charlie smiles. Nope, he sure didn't. I say. Good night, Lem. Good night, Charlie. Or, good night, Lem. Charlie? He chuckles. I'm not going to sleep anytime soon, am I? Just one more thing, then I really and truly promise to go to sleep. Cross my heart this time. Okay, what is it? I'm happy for Tobin, and Debbie too. I am. But it also, well, it doesn't really seem fair. Fair, he asks. I mean, first, when he got to even hope that his dad was coming back, I wish I could hope too. You know, that Mama would come back to us too. But now Tobin actually gets his dad back. But Mama is never coming back. I can't even hope for it. And it's just not fair, is all. Charlie sits back down on the edge of the bed and puts a warm hand on top of my knee. I can certainly understand why you feel that way, he says. And you're right. It isn't fair. It doesn't mean I'm bad to feel like that. No, Lem, not at all. I mean, I'm still happy for them, I say. I really am. But I'm also sad for me and for you, even for Mrs. Dickerson. Charlie drops his head and sighs. I'm happy for them and sad for us too, he says. I think that's very normal feeling to have. I smile at him. Thanks, Charlie. Good night, Lem, he says. Night, I say, snuggling down under my rainbow comforter. You long time without saying anything, and then clears his throat a bunch of times. Lemonade, Liberty Wit, he finally says. You are what I'm most thankful for every day.